All right, Empowered Soul Network crew, we are here with Sandra Adler. She is a spiritual educator, consultant, and coach, and newly best-selling author of the book Saturday at Kieran's. So I'm excited to talk with her and to hear all about that adventure and the other countless adventures that you have had in your life, Sandra. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here at the Empowered Soul Network. I figure that if you are a soul in a physical body, here to do your life purpose, which is unique, and you have spiritual helpers to help you accomplish it, then you need to be on the Empowered Soul Network.
Is that your definition of empowered soul, Sandra? How else would you describe an empowered soul? What is that to you?
It's just a soul, um, inner feelings, just being who she truly is, doing what she's come to do, feeling joy all the time. I didn't always feel joy all the time, but now that I'm older, I think I've got that. It's called inner peace.
Mm.
And inner peace is being empowered. Inner peace means that I know who I am. I know why I'm here. I know where I came from. I know where I'm going. And also I know when I'm going because I know a technique that I can have a two-way communication system with my spiritual guidance. So I ask them everything. And I asked them when I was going to pass on. I mean, if you don't want to know the answer, don't ask the question. But if you want to know anything about yourself, you can find out everything. And so I did. And so I'm just so excited that I'm going to have enough time to get all my books written.
Very cool. Tell me a little bit about your journey. You mentioned that you weren't always so joyful. What was your journey like as you were kind of dipping your toe into all of that self-empowerment?
Well, thank you for asking that. I started off really bad. I had a mother that beat me every day. Um, I was the oldest child of five, and I was the one that she picked on. And so, I mean, she did the best she knew how. I've forgiven her and all that. But it started off really bad. So I thought that beating somebody up was the way to go. And so as I grew up, I had a boyfriend that beat me up every day. And I thought, well, that's, love, because that's all I knew. And it came to a point one day when I was lying there on my carpet in a pool of blood and urine. And I woke up and I said to myself, or maybe my angels might have been talking to me then, um, he's going to kill me. Now, that was the moment that changed my life. I was probably in my 30s by then. So I had lived a life of atheism. And anybody that wanted to talk about anything religious or spiritual, I crossed them off my list and I didn't have anything to do with them because I was so not interested in that BS. Well, I was a school teacher at the time that this all happened, and I went to a psychiatrist and I said, I need help. I'm living with a guy that's going to kill me, and I want to get him out of my house. Can you help me? And he said, oh, yes, I can help you. So I spent week after week at my therapy sessions. I would say, what he would say, I want you to get out of my house. And then I would say all the rebuttal that this guy would say. well, it's my house too, and blah, 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 blah. So we went back and forth, and because he was trying to help me say what I needed to say to get this guy out of my house. In the meantime, he said, you need to be in group therapy. So he put me in his group therapy meetings. And in that group therapy, I was, explaining, all my situation. And I've been hearing these voices and I'm crazy as a loon and blah, blah, blah. So one of the girls said, yesterday I heard a lady on the radio and she was talking about people who hear voices. And she said that they're not crazy because they're probably just hearing their angels talking to them. I said, oh, I don't believe in that BS. I don't believe in that. Um, and she said, well, she's going to be giving a lecture at the airport here in Detroit. And I want to go, but it's at night and I don't want to go by myself. Would you come with me? And I said, oh, I don't want to hear that stuff. That's I've avoided it all my life. I'm continuing to avoid it. And so she begged me, and for some reason I agreed to accompany her. And that was the beginning. It was 1976 in May, and I went. I heard a lady. Her name was Bettina Lohman, and she was giving a lecture, and there were hundreds of people there. And she talked about who we are, why we're here, where we came from, where we're going, the big picture, what life on planet Earth is all about. And I listened and I listened, and it made sense. It was something that in my feelings I felt, well, this sounds real. This is the truth. I'd never heard it from my parents. I'd never heard it from school and from all the colleges I'd been to, and never heard it from anywhere. But it made sense. And she said, and if you, want to experience some of these things I'm talking about, tomorrow night, I'm going to be giving a second night program exploring inner dynamics. And I'm going to show you techniques that you can use in your everyday life to make this a life style for you, a new lifestyle. And I went. And then she said, if you would like to learn a two-way communication system with your spiritual helpers, I can make an appointment for you and we can do that. And, people lined up to sign up for this, and I did not do it. I said, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this is such BS. Because I was intellectual and skeptical. And I was a student. I've got so many degrees. I can't even tell you how many degrees I've got, but I've got a lot of degrees. I just went to school because I was an intellectual, and that's how I was brought up. Well, eventually I said, well, it can't hurt to go and find out about this angel thing. So I went to her hotel room. Excuse me. It was her last day in Detroit. And I said I wanted to have this reading, this profile to learn how to communicate with my spiritual guidance. And she said, well, okay. I said, I'm not going to be able to do it. I just want to tell you ahead of time so you don't get disappointed, but I'm not going to be able to do this. And she said, oh, well, you'll be the first one. And I said, the first one? She said, yes, everybody does it. Everybody can do it. It's so very simple. So anyway, she gave me the profile. She told me about my communication order, how I communicate with people, with myself, with my angels. And she told me about my energy, that I was really a positive person. And that was shocking to me. And she told me how many spiritual helpers, how many angels I had. And I kind of was just taking it with a grain of salt. So she says, and now I'm going to show you how to talk to them. She said, you can't talk to them unless you have goosebumps. You have to have chills, because that's the higher level of energy that you have to reach before you can communicate with these spiritual helpers. So she showed me a technique, which is in my book, Saturdays at Kieran's, how to get chills, how to get spiritually cleansed or to clear my mind. So I did that. And she says, now we're going to talk to your helpers, your angels, your guidance. So she showed me how to get the yes and no answers. And she says, now the first question you're going to ask them is, do you love me? So she said, ask that question. So I asked it, and I got such an overpowering yes answer. I just broke down in tears. I mean, I just collapsed. It was an emotional breakdown because it was no doubt that I didn't give myself that answer, that somebody was giving me that answer, somebody that I didn't believe in, somebody that I didn't know. And I said, how can they love me when I don't even believe in them? And my parents didn't love me, and I don't even love myself. How can that be? They said, oh, she said, they're always with you. They've always been with you. They were with you before you were born, and they're always going to love you no matter what you do. So she said, let's practice some more questions and answers. So when I went home from that session, I mean, I was like, holy smokes. I was like, well, they call it reborn. I was like a new person because I believed that I had angels and I believed that they loved me. So I started asking questions because I was an intellectual and I wanted to know everything. So I asked, have I ever lived in a physical body before? Because I had an inkling that I have been here before. And they said, I have. And I asked, how many lifetimes have I lived in a physical body before? And I started asking every question that I ever wanted to know. And the thing was about 8 hours. I was exhausted, but I wanted answers. And so I was at that point in my life, I had taken a sabbatical from the school system and I was at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor getting my PhD. And so I took a 2-year sabbatical. So I went to class and I said to my friends there, my fellow students, I said, you won't believe what I just found out. And so I started telling them all this stuff. And some of them, of course, said, poo, 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 that's a bunch of BS. But some of them said, oh, that is so interesting. Can you tell us more about it? I said, oh, sure. Come on to my apartment and I'll tell you all about it. So I started telling people about it without even having any training or anything. I just told them what I could remember. And then they all wanted to learn how to get answers because, we were doing a lot of studying, a lot of reading, Jung and Freud and all the stuff that we had to do to get our PhD. And I said, I don't need to read all those books anymore. If I need an answer, I could just ask my spiritual guidance. And so, I mean, I was on the top of the world. So these people wanted to learn how to do it, but I didn't know how to show them because I was told that, you had to be trained and you had to be accredited and you had to be checked out with spirit, that you are, have good motives and all this stuff. So I had somebody come over to my apartment who was a trained spiritual consultant. And I would do these little talks, and then she would spend hours giving everybody their readings of their profiles about their guidance. And so I said to myself, boy, she's earning all this money and I'm doing all the talking. This is not in my best interest. So I went and had the training. I went to a place in Pennsylvania where they had the training that September. And I took it, and then I started to help people that way. And I've been doing that since 1976. So, and I'm still doing it today. And now I'm doing it, I'm sitting here in my apartment on my phone, giving people their orientation profiles so they can start their spiritual life. So, that's how it all started. And then on and then I went back to teaching school after I got done in Ann Arbor. I went back to Detroit, and I was walking around in the classroom after school, getting ready for the next day and getting my lesson plans up to date and all that. And I was saying to my angels, what do I have to do to get out of this prison? And all of a sudden, although I loved kids, I loved teaching and all that, all of a sudden it seemed like a prison because I was stuck in a small classroom with 30 little kids and their parents who used to come and help me. Um, but I had now a big picture of what the whole world was about. And I was a changed person. I just was changed. I had become empowered, an empowered soul.
Yeah.
So, I got an opportunity. The man who founded um, the Americana Leadership College, which is now Wayshowers College, and the Inner Peace Movement, he said that he wanted people to travel and tour and talk about this and help other people find themselves. And he offered me an opportunity. And I said, "Oh, I've been asking how to get out of this prison. Is this the answer I've been looking for?" So anyway, to make a long story shorter, I started off in the United States in certain places where he sent me, but then I went to in 1981. I went to Europe. He was teaching a course in Paris, France. And I checked with my angels. They said, "Oh, yes, it's in your best interest to go to Paris, France." And I said, "Oh, my God." So away I went, took the course. And in the end of the course, he said, "All of you who are going home now, go sit on this side of the room. And all of you who are going to stay here in Europe, sit on this side of the room." So I went and sat on the side of the room because I was going home because I had a round trip airfare. And he said, "Sandra, why are you going over there?" And I said, "Well, because I have a round trip ticket. I'm going home." And he says, "Oh, I think you should go sit on the other side." So I got up and went on, sat on the other side. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, what's happening now? I asked how to get out of this prison. Now I'm getting out of my country. I said, "Oh my God, it's so exciting." So what it turned out, those of us who stayed, we went to tour in Europe. We started in England. Some people started in France. Those who parlez français, they stayed in France. And then those of us who spoke only English went to England. And then after our visa ran out 3 months, we went to Ireland. Then we came back to England 3 months and we went to Scotland. Anyway, that's how it started in 1981. And I continued traveling around the world, went 4 trips around the world, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, all across the United States, until 2001. And in 2001, I was in Canada, in Alberta, and south of Calgary. And I was in a place called Lethbridge. And there were so many people that came to my lecture there that they were standing up in the back of the room and standing up at all the entrances because there was no room for anybody else to sit down. And then when I told them that I could show them how to talk to their spiritual helpers, oh, they ran to the table to sign up. I didn't have enough hours. So I had to call Calgary. And I called the people there who were trained to do this. I said, "Help, please come. We have lots of people who want to have their readings, their profiles." And so they said, oh, it's a 3-hour drive each way. So that was, so I got burned out. So the next week, I went to Medicine Hat, Alberta. And when I got there, the newspaper article had come out, and it was a fabulous article. Got hundreds of them. And anybody can read all these newspaper articles. They're on my website, sandraadler.com. I've got hundreds of newspaper articles on there. And so the people showed up in Medicine Hat. And again, it was an overflowing crowd, and they all wanted to have their reading. They were spiritually starving. They were so hungry. They wanted to talk to their angels, and they even knew they had angels. And they said, but they didn't know how to get answers. And I said, oh, well, I can show you how. So I was so burned out at that point. I said to my angels, what am I going to do? I can't get helpers to come and help me to do all these readings. And my angels said, you're never going to reach all the people that you have come to reach this lifetime by going from one city to another city, a different city every week for the rest of your life. And I said, oh my God, what am I going to do? They said, write a book. Write a book. So that's when it started. 2001, I wrote little poetry books about what I had been sharing with people on this worldwide tour that I was doing. And I wrote 12 little books in poetry, Dr. Seuss rhyming style.
Yeah.
And that's how I got started with writing. And like the first book is called My Body. And it starts like, my body is mine. It belongs to no other, not my mother, father, sister, or brother. I picked my mom and I picked my dad to give me the best body I ever had. So it's got that Dr. Seuss rhyming style that the kids in first grade just loved. Actually, adults love that too. I mean, I still love Dr. Seuss books.
Yeah.
And so I wrote 12 of those.
So what is it about children? Because you wrote a children book, Saturday at Kieran's, right? Where's that passion come from for you? You were a school teacher for a long time. What is it that draws you to that energy of working with children?
Well, I'm 83. I'm going to be passing on in a couple of years or so. So I don't want the message to get lost. I don't want to quit sharing. So if I write it in books, then it'll continue on long after me. But children are leaders of tomorrow. They're going to grow up and they're going to be running the country. They're going to be running the world. And if they can learn spiritual concepts like loving themselves, loving each other, respecting each other's differences, working together to solve problems, and grow up and be an example of that and teach that to others, then we're going to have a world where people are going to love each other and respect each other and work together. And it's going to heal the division that we have in our world today. Because that division is not spiritual. That's the opposite of spiritual. Spiritual is we are one with all things. I'm one with the plants and the animals and people because I am energy. I am atoms and molecules. Everything in the universe is energy, atoms, and molecules. So I am one with you. I am one with everybody. I'm one with everything. And division means separation, it means death. So division is killing us. What we need is unifying, working together, being one with all things. I remember in first grade when one of the little kids had something hurting him, and the other kid says, "Oh yeah, I can feel that too." And it just shocked me because they were saying, "I am one with all things. If you hurt, I hurt." And so a lot of the troubles that we're having today with our physical bodies, with our relationships, in politics, religion, all that stuff, is because we're separate. We're not feeling that one with all things that we truly are. Spiritually, we are one. So that's what my goal is to write these books. Saturdays at Kieran's is the first book in a series. It's called Meeting the Edifiers. And the edifiers are these 12 kids or 11 kids that that's the pictures of the kids, and who are starting out in, this is in sixth grade in this book, and I'm going to be doing the second book, third book, and fourth book. It's a series. This one's called Meeting the Edifier, so you get to know all the kids. There's 2 African American kids, 2 Asian American kids, 2 Latinos, 1 Jewish kid, 1 Native American, 1 LGBTQ kid, and 1 bully. And they all come, and Kieran is from India. So they all come to Kieran's every Saturday. And in the second book, it's called Saturdays at Kieran's, Becoming Selfless. And in this book, the spiritual message is giving without expecting anything in return. And everybody's born with that energy. All little kids want to help their mummies and daddies and do things, and they don't ask for money or a gift or anything. They just want to help. And so that's an energy that I want to reintroduce to young people. And it's easy because they don't forget because they're still young. And then the third book is called Saturdays at Kieran's, Finding Forgiveness. And in this book, the spiritual message is how they learn to forgive their parents and their teachers, and because everybody is doing the best they know how. Right now, we are doing the best that we know how. If we knew how to do any better, we would do better. But we're doing the best right now that we know how, and everybody is. And all our parents did the best they know how, and all the teachers did the best they knew how. But what we're here on planet Earth to do is to grow and learn. So as we grow and learn, we do better. And it's called spiritual enlightenment or evolvement. And we are all here evolving, and we're learning and growing. And that's why this Empowered Soul Network is so important, because it's giving people an opportunity to grow spiritually, because they hear things and learn things that people are doing around the world, and it's waking them up, and the light bulb is going off, and people are growing. So I commend you for starting this network, because it's going to change our planet.
Thank you. You know, you mentioned, I was thinking it, and you started talking about the experience you had with the child who was hurting, and then the other child felt it. Were there any other moments where you, especially as a school teacher, where you had some impactful experiences for yourself with these children who are wise old souls?
Oh gosh, there were so many experiences. I can remember one of my favorites was Jimmy, because Jimmy never stopped talking, and nobody wanted Jimmy in their class. And I just loved Jimmy because Jimmy never stopped talking. And so he said, Miss Adler, did I ever tell you about the dinosaurs? And I said, no, Jimmy, but tell me all about it. She said, well, we lived in caves and the dinosaurs would poke their heads in our door and we would jump on their neck and they would take us for a ride. And another little boy in the classroom said, oh, Jimmy, do you remember the time I came with you one time? And Jimmy said, oh, yeah, I remember. So here they are. And I'm thinking to myself, well, there were never dinosaurs and men on planet Earth at the same time. This is back now in the 70s, and we didn't believe in dinosaurs and men at the same time. But later on, I read an article that said man's footprints found next to dinosaur footprints. And by gosh, if those little kids weren't right, they were remembering a past lifetime. So, my advice to adults is listen to the children. Don't interrupt them. Don't say, oh, you've got a good imagination, because it's not an imagination. These little kids remember. And just to say, oh, and tell me more. And then just listen and just let them talk, because then you're letting them be who they really are. They're starting to trust what they know, trusting themselves. They feel like they can communicate. They feel like they respect and love themselves and that other people love and respect them. And it's a great start for young kids if adults just listen and don't judge and don't comment, just listen and say, and tell me more. Because these little kids will say, Miss Adler, when I was a grown up, I wouldn't do this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, oh, well, tell me more about that. Because they remember who they used to be in a past lifetime. We don't have to even ask our angels, is there such a thing as reincarnation or past lifetimes? You just talk to some little kids. They'll tell you what they remember. And so I have so many things the little kids shared with me. And when I would
advice.
stand there asking my angels, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? They always said yes.
Hmm.
The little kids just don't lie. They don't know about lying. They just tell you the truth.
That's I really appreciate you taking us on the journey from the very beginning to where you are now and all the process through it, because I feel like it helps people relate to you are just a big ball of enthusiasm with so much wisdom and to be able to see the segue of all the skepticism and all of this kind of stuff is so valuable, I think, for people to be able to connect. So really appreciate you sharing. Is there anything you would like to wrap up with? Any final words of wisdom for those of us, or any other experiences you want to share?
I believe that the more troubles that you had growing up, the more troubles you had with your family and with your relationships with kids, the more troubles that you had, the greater your spiritual message is to the world. So the key is to say, what did I learn from that? And every day, what did I learn from that? Because our experiences are what we are attracting so that we can do our life purpose. So if we can say, what did I learn from that? And then share it, because everybody else is going through similar things and they need to know that there's hope. There's hope because we're growing and changing. And if we are learning, never give up hope that you are going to find inner peace. If I could find inner peace through all the stuff I went through, anybody can find inner peace. So never give up hope. Just love all your troubles, love them, and then say, what am I learning from that? And go from there.
That's what my shirt says. Love is always the answer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandra. It's been it's been a real pleasure for me personally, and I'm sure for people listening to be here with you. We are going to tag you in the post here. Drop all of your links to where people can connect with you, how people can get your book, and so on and so forth. And feel free to drop in the comments even maybe one of your little excerpts from one of the other poetry books you were sharing. And yeah, thank you so much. Hope everyone enjoyed that one.